Hello. Historically, we have had our annual HIPAA privacy and security training during the month of October. This year, there will be some changes in our HIPAA privacy and security policy after it is reviewed and approved. Therefore, I decided to delay this annual training until the policy is ready for distribution. Today, I've invited 3 acting area administrators who will participate in a brief panel discussion about HIPAA privacy and security rules and how the Department of Public Health has implemented measures to demonstrate compliance with those rules. I would like to introduce as my guest Stacy Adams, Acting Area Administrator for Area 7, Connie King, Acting Area Administrator for Area 8, and Corey Kirkland, Acting Area Administrator for Area 10. Welcome, and thank you for your willingness to assist with this training today. Now let me first say I've told these panelists that any questions I raise are not intended to put them on the spot. If they do not know the answer, then they're certainly free to say, I don't know. There are certainly many facets to the HIPAA rules, and I myself am certainly in a learning curve as the interim privacy officer. If you contact me with a specific question, I may have to say, let me research this and get back with you. I would like for us to simply cover some of the basics today and make practical application in our everyday work environment. So let's get started. Stacy. We use the initials PHI frequently in reference to the Healthcare Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, also known as HIPAA. So what exactly does PHI mean to us, and why is it important to us as ADPH employees?
PHI is protected health information, and as ADPH employees, it's our responsibility to ensure that that information, any information that we have on clients that we served, is kept confidential.
Okay. Can you give me, Connie, some examples of what PHI includes?
Well, that would be any information we have on our clients, medical information, even their demographic information.
Right.
It's important that we keep that confidential.
Absolutely. Connie, who is a covered entity? We use that term a lot in our policy.
Right.
We reference it. So what does a covered entity mean?
But that could be any other healthcare provider, a doctor's office, even another clinic, a hospital, and even an insurance company, because we do billing.
Exactly. So anyone who would have access to the protected health information as a medical health care provider is considered to be a covered entity. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, very good. Corey, what kind of PHI are we allowed to disclose to another covered entity or a business associate?
At times, one thing that comes to mind is we may have a request for records from law enforcement or something, and we need to go through our legal division and the process that we have in place to do that. It may be whether or not they've been to your clinic, or maybe certain tests they have that are relevant to an investigation, and then other times maybe it's to another doctor's office or something, so that continuing care could be provided for that patient.
Right, absolutely. And there is a term that's called treatment, payment, and operations. Does any of you, do you happen to know what that means? Under what circumstances would we use that? Do you know? And if you don't, I'll be able to help you out.
I'm not familiar with that.
Treatment, payment, and operations is, it under the privacy rule, it allows us to share public health or protected health information to another covered entity without having to have our patient signed consent. For example, treatment, payment, and operations for billing purposes, for claims processing, then we don't have to get our patient's consent in order to release the medical information, the kind of services that we provided, and therefore the billing that we're submitting for them. We hold protected health information in trusts. And so we also, there's a term that's called meaningful use or minimum necessary also. Minimum necessary means that, for example, if a physician contacts one of our county health departments in the clinic and they want the entire medical record, there's really, we would expect some sort of justification as to why we would be copying or provide them the entire medical record as opposed to just a specific treatment date, diagnosis, etc. So we want to release the minimum necessary in order to ensure that that patient gets the treatment and the care that they need. Let's move on to just one more question then. Why are we not allowed to disclose protected health information outside the department to anyone who is not a covered entity?
For the safety of the patient.
That's true, because it is protected. It is their own medical information. There is, if under treatment, payment, and operation, we can release it, as I've said, for another healthcare provider or for claims processing or something along that lines. There's one exception, that we cannot release psychotherapy notes. And then the Department of Public Health's environment, we don't release social service notes under any condition unless we get permission from the treating professional, which in this case would be that social worker, and the patient has a court order, a signed court order, authorizing us to release that information. The last question I want to cover is, we often use the words privacy and security interchangeably. In your mind or in your opinion, what is the difference between those two?
I think security is what we do to protect the person's privacy. It's measures that we have as far as policy or even physical barriers that a lot of our health departments are putting in now, as far as locking certain doors and maybe prohibiting certain staff that shouldn't have a need to have access to PHI, and preventing them from getting to that private information. We're putting security measures in place to prevent that.
All right, so you referenced locked doors. Are there other steps that you're taking?
Well, also just I think letting everyone know the policy that we have in place, and education about why it's important to protect the information exactly, and not just saying, well, the door's locked, you can't go in, but understanding why, so that if there's a problem, we react to it properly in the future.
Okay. Connie, in Public Health Area 8, are there specific steps that you've taken?
Well, just like Corey mentioned, educating our staff is a major thing that we try to make sure that they understand the importance and the seriousness of protecting our clients' information. So we make sure we regularly stress the importance of protecting that information.
Okay. And then Stacy?
And just routine walkthroughs throughout the clinic to make sure that our staff is in compliance and their computers aren't up with patient information and they've gone to the restroom and, stepped away from their desk. I mean, to make sure we do comply with our policies.
Right. And one of the steps that we've taken recently is to implement a risk assessment. There's a template that Lori Earl, who's our security coordinator or security officer for the department, has distributed, in which we ask that designated security coordinator in each office to complete and then to submit. And those questions are designed such to prompt them to know what kinds of things they need to be looking for. And we've gotten some very good feedback from the answers that we've received from some of the risk assessments also. Is there anything else that, from your personal standpoint, that you would like to emphasize this afternoon that we may not have already covered?
I think just that everyone, including administrators, have to take it seriously, and we're all subject to the same rules, no matter if we have a need to look at PHI or not.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate the constant reminders that we have. Having them on a monthly basis really shows the seriousness of it.
Yes, good. Thank you.
And from an administrator perspective, to me, they've been so timely. It's almost like you knew situations that we had encountered in the particular county. So thank you.
Good. I thank you today for your time and participation. I welcome feedback from you and any of our staff around the state regarding these training videos. If you have suggestions for specific topics related to HIPAA, privacy and security, or would like more information, please feel free to contact me via email or telephone.